Hello everyone. Ominous October continues. This time, Corn Maze Prompt flies towards you for your enjoyment. Part 1 out of 3. Somehow I managed to make it 3 parts. Third part is not done yet, but it's going to be action-packed, so I hope you are looking forward to that. But before we get to that, part 1. Let's go. As always, special thanks to all my lovely patrons and all of you who subscribe and watch my videos. You are keeping this channel alive and going. Thank you very much, and I hope you will enjoy. Could you finally tell us where are we going? Taichi flinched a bit at Shirabu's grumpy tone, but he would lie if he said he wasn't as confused by their sudden trip. It was Hayato's idea, because of course it was. He didn't ask, just put them in front of a damn thing with an explanation that it was a surprise bonding trip since they couldn't go to Disneyland. No details, no place, nothing. Everything was surprise until they got in the car. Semi, naturally, was immediately on it as well, leaving Taichi and Shirabu in confusion about what exactly they were going to do. I agree. You said you would tell us in the car. Hayato grinned at them through the back mirror. Come on, you two, have some sense of adventure. It's exciting, isn't it? Not knowing where the path is taking you. We don't know where you are taking us. Either fess up or stop the car. You sure you want to walk all the way home? I don't care. I'm not going to be part of whatever crazy scheme he thought of if I don't know what it is. Period. In answer, Semi and Hayato simultaneously rolled their eyes, but then Hayato gave up. We are going to Murata. They've built a corn maze there and I want to see it. Taichi was sure he didn't imagine Semi's eyes actually shining when he heard about the maze. In a complete opposite to him, Shirabu made a grimace. Corn maze? Seriously? Isn't that a bit more of a US thing? Shrugging, Hayato turned his focus back on the road. Maybe. I guess they wanted to try it out too with how popular Halloween is getting here. They want kids to have fun. Then why are we going there if it's for kids? Because it will be fun. Come on, Kenshiro, be a bit more open-minded. Shirabu huffed and crossed his arms over his chest, looking out of the window as if pouting. Unsure what to do, Taichi bit his lip, his hand subconsciously straying to tug on the hem of his jacket. He didn't have anything against mazes. On the contrary, he found them fun. Simple, but fun nonetheless. But the connection of this particular one to Halloween, one of his least liked holidays, made him doubt that. It was just a feeling, something deep down in his soul that suddenly made him fidgety. He tried his best to hide it in order to not ruin his boyfriend's excitement, but judging by the concerned creases appearing in the corners of Semi's eyes when he looked back at him, he wasn't very successful. What do you think, Tai? Apparently, he was really bad at hiding his emotions. He should have known better already. I don't mind. I think it could be fun. But? He pressed his lips together, his first instinct being to deny ever feeling anything different than what he said. But before he could, a second, much calmer inner voice stopped him, telling him what he had known for ages, but always forgot to act accordingly to. There was nothing to worry about. Neither of his partners was going to hurt him, ever. He lowered his eyes to his clenched hands, forcing himself to loosen the grip before speaking again. I don't know. I just have a weird feeling about it. Semi gave him a soft smile and leaned back a bit awkwardly to squeeze his hand. You have nothing to be nervous about. We won't leave you there or anything. but we won't force you to go in if you don't want to. It's supposed to be fun, not a traumatic experience. Taichi paused, taking a bit to absorb the words properly. Then he returned the smile and squeezed to his hand, much to Semi's apparent contentment. Alright, thank you. Shirabu huffed next to him, sinking even deeper into his seat. How comes Taichi gets a special treatment? It's not fair. Taichi was already opening his mouth to apologize for being difficult, but Shirabu was faster, smacking Semi's hand away to take Taichi's in his own. So unfair. Taichi just smiled, some of the tension leaving his body with the gentle touch. However, no matter how much his boyfriend tried to distract him from the strange feeling, it refused to go away. On the contrary, it only grew stronger when they drove off the main road and turned onto a dirt road leading through the fields, and reached its peak when Hayato stopped the car on a small parking lot right next to the ginormous field of corn. He had to give it to the organizers that they tried really hard to make the maze look spooky while also keeping the kids in mind and not going overboard. And yet, looking at the corn that stood even taller than he was, stirred the uneasy feeling in his stomach. He seemed to be the only one with a similar problem though, as there already were several families, the kids running around excited about the new attraction. Oh, how he envied them. He startled when Hayato wrapped his arms around him. Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. Taichi knew. He forced himself to relax into Hayato's embrace, covering his hand with his own. Unsurprisingly, Hayato's eyes twinkled with the same excitement as the kids, and Taichi just waited for when he was going to start bouncing around from the excess energy. It was one of Hayato's many charms that pulled Taichi to him ever since they met all those years ago, and while he couldn't measure to his bright personality, he never felt like being overshadowed next to him. Still no improvement? Taichi blinked, snapped from the love-struck thought. About that weird feeling you had, I mean. Oh, I'm trying to figure out what's wrong, I swear. It just... You don't know, huh? He smiled, gently ruffling Taichi's hair. That's fine. I sometimes can't explain my feelings either. You don't have to stress about that. Let's go in and see. If you don't like it, you can wait for us outside. But isn't it going to bother you? You spent time and effort on this and... Tai, nothing would make me more upset than if you forced yourself into something. Or if I forced you into it. He ran his fingers through Taichi's hair before motioning over his shoulder at Semi and Shirabu bickering a bit aside. This is a group activity, Tai. If one of us isn't having fun, then it's not a good activity. So, just give us a call if you don't want to continue and we'll think of something else. Letting out a shuddered breath, Taichi nodded, once again grateful for having someone like Hayato in his life. Moreover, could share his life with. He let Hayato lead him to the rest of their little squad, taking a few deep breaths as they made their way towards the entrance, accompanied by Shirabu's grumbling and Semi's teasing laugh. All in all, an absolutely normal outing for them. Nothing worth being nervous about. However, as they stood in front of the maze, a different feeling sent chills down his spine. The hair rose on the back of his neck, a sudden need to look over his shoulder and find the eyes that were burying into his back taking over his mind. And so he did, despite his brain telling him he was overreacting. He quickly looked around all the faces, already berating himself for being paranoid when he froze mid-movement. There, at the very edge of the parking and entrance area, stood a man dressed in what Taichi would more expect to see in a movie than on a living person. Dirty trousers and a shirt almost covered with a sort of jacket gave him the look of a horror movie madman, the whole visage sealed by a hat with a wide brim, from under which a pair of piercing eyes watched Taichi's every step. As if drawn to them by a magnet, Taichi suddenly couldn't look away, only feeling his heart speeding up in his chest and a crawling cold preventing his body from moving. Taichi? He startled out of the weird stupor, just barely restraining himself from yelping out loud when someone tapped on his shoulder. Shirabu furrowed his brow. What's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost. Sorry, I just... He turned to where he saw the man before, but the space was now empty. I thought I saw someone watching me. Watching you? Who? Where? Over there. A man. Looked like he just left a movie set. He desperately glanced back at the place, but it stayed as empty as in the moment before. I swear he was there. I'm not seeing things. Shirabu cupped his cheeks, stopping him mid-breath. I believe you. Maybe whoever that was just hateful since we are here together and chose you to glare at. Either way, since he's not here anymore, he shouldn't cause any trouble, right? Taichi wanted to believe that. Dealing with hatred was the last thing he wanted to do when out with his boyfriend. And yet, somehow, he was almost sure the man wasn't watching him with hatred. Rather... What's going on? Semi, similarly to Shirabu, scrunched his brow when he got to them, his eyes darting uncertainly between the two of them. Taichi had a feeling he might be watched. I'm sure it's nothing, really, it weirded me out, that's all. The lie had to be very prominent in his voice, if only judging by Semi's expression. But that was no surprise. He had always struggled with convincing people. Maybe we should tell the organizers. I highly doubt someone would be watching you just out of curiosity. And what are they going to do about it when the guy's already gone? I don't know. Maybe tell the other people here to watch out for a potential creep. Hey, stop arguing, you two. Didn't you have enough already? Throwing both of them a glare, Hayato nodded towards one of the staff members standing a bit to the side from them. I agree with Eita. We should warn at least someone. If only because of the kids. Why would he watch Taichi if he was after kids? I don't know, people are weird. Come on. With that, he grabbed Taichi by hand and led him over to the staff, quickly recounting what Taichi said before, returning back to Semi and Shirabu only after the woman agreed to let the people know. I have my doubts she will, though. Taichi had to agree since she didn't seem too bothered even when they were talking to her. But at least their conscience was clear. Ruining my perfect surprise already. Not fair. Taichi would happily say nothing was ruined and that the weird man wasn't bothering him at all. But the second they stood in front of the maze entrance, the weird feeling from before returned, perhaps even stronger than in the whole time. Dread churned in his stomach, slowly turning into a heavy rock sinking his spirit with every step inside the tall maze he took. Hayato, still holding onto his hand, gently tugged him to his side, giving him a reassuring smile. It will be fine, you'll see. One creep can't ruin the whole day, eh? I suppose. The truth was, he could barely stop himself from frantically looking over his shoulder with every rustle of the corn around them. No matter the warm hand holding his nerves were strained like cords, threatening to burst every minute. Hayato had to feel his unrest too, as he gently rubbed the back of his hand with his thumb, his expression becoming serious. Keep close to us, just to be sure. And have your phone ready if you get lost. We'll come get you.
Okay, I will.
I'm serious, Tai. Don't play a hero. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. If you separate and feel unsafe, call. Promise me that.
I promise.
The smile returned to Hayato's face. Good. Now come on before we lose those two. They rushed to catch up with Semi and Shirabu, keeping at most a few meters of distance among themselves to not lose each other. Taichi tried to find comfort in that, soothing his worked-up mind with the knowledge of strength in numbers, and that his boyfriends wouldn't let anything happen to him. And for the most time, it worked. He even found himself looking around the numerous stems of corn for a different reason than caution, the now relaxed chatter and laugh of his partners easing the worries settled on his mind. However, as always, the calm didn't last long. Whoever is the last to the center pays for dinner. Taichi didn't even manage to react when Hayato and Semi bolted forward, soon followed by sputtering Shirabu. Wait! He started running with a noticeable difference, soon barely hearing either of his boyfriend's voices. He tried his best to follow in their footsteps, but the corn walls all looked the same to him, curving and twisting like some snake, making his head spin. Then, clumsy as he was, he stumbled over the uneven ground, hissing when his knees and hands met with the dry, hardened dirt. Damn it! Slightly wavering, he scrambled to his feet and tried to find direction again. But no matter how long he listened, he couldn't hear anything except for the wind rustling through the corn and the distant voices of the other people, surely enjoying themselves much more than he was. Oh no. He looked around frantically, his orientation sense completely thrown off by his surroundings. Taking his best guess, he continued onwards in hopes he would find either the center or at least someone from their group. But the longer he walked, the more he felt like he was going in circles, not really getting anywhere but just more lost. Suddenly, the whole maze looked much scarier, every louder sound making him jump. It was no longer the fun pastime Hayato came up with instead of a date. It was horrible. After a few minutes of stumbling around, which felt like whole hours, his growing panic was getting too much to control. He fished out his phone, shooing away the annoying voice calling him a coward as he searched his log for Hayato's number. He flinched and swiftly turned around when a loud rustling sounded behind his back, but apart from the sea of corn, he couldn't see anything. Shaken and with his hands trembling, he looked back at the screen, finally finding what he was looking for. But before he could tap the call icon, fast footsteps stumped towards him. The startled cry never left his mouth, silenced by a large hand clasp over half of his face. The phone fell from his fingers, knocked somewhere aside during the desperate fight for freedom. Then, sharp pain shot through his head, and everything went black. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. As I said, this is part 1 out of 3. Somehow it got really long, and I want to keep the last part like really action-packed, so I split it into 3 parts instead of 2 long ones. It's going to be worth it, I promise. Hopefully. No, definitely, it's going to definitely be worth it. And I was looking forward to this prompt a lot. Almost as much as Trick or Treat, but that's for later. Either way, part 2 is going to be coming out on Wednesday, and part 3 is going to be coming out next Saturday. So I hope you are looking forward to that. If you have any requests or ideas, the request form is linked in the video description. See you next time!